Yes, it's a problem that's plagued mankind since the days of the dinosaurs. The never-ending battle between battery life and the demand for more power. Did they have batteries in the Jurassic? I think they did. Who will win this challenging fight?
Coconut batteries.
Yeah, right, made out of coconuts. Well, if you don't want to sacrifice battery life for portability, well, you definitely need Steve Gibson on your team. Today, he's going to show us how you can get more battery, how he gets more battery out of his PDA. This is an interesting little side. Normally, we know you as security or hard drive repair.
I go where the problems are.
This is really kind of a dead end he went into here. So you use a Palm PDA. In fact, there's your TX.
I'm a fanatic ebook reader.
Yeah.
But, you know, what's happened is these processors have become so powerful that they're now becoming media devices.
Oh, yeah. You've got a 200 or 300 megahertz processor here.
Four.
416
416 megahertz.
An X scale, okay.
Actually, that's the T5. This TX, it runs at 320 megahertz.
Okay.
When this began, though, remember that these things were just used as like a little reference tool.
Right.
Just as an address book or to carry your calendar around.
Right.
So you would turn it on, you'd scribble out enough of the name for the Palm to find it, and then you turn it off.
Right.
So the total battery life was, in that case, months typically before you had to recharge it.
Right.
The problem is that now people are beginning to use these as media devices, like I am. I mean, ebooks is a medium because I'm reading books for hours at a time, and we know
you read them on here.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. Very legible to me. I spent 6 hours in the air yesterday, flying to Toronto, reading this new sci-fi book on my Palm TX.
Wow! Now this is how you like it with black.
I like the text reversed that way. I think it's legible and it's easy on my eyes.
Do you do this also to save battery life?
Well, what I realized was, we all know that backlighting is expensive.
Yeah.
The question is exactly how expensive, and in the old days, people used to overclock their PDAs because they wanted to get more juice out of them.
Right.
The original Palm ran at 16 megahertz, and people would crank it up
to 30,
to get now, and it sucked the batteries dry. It got hot. I mean, there were problems.
Yeah.
But these overclocking tools are now still around, and they can be used for underclocking. So you can slow the Palm way down.
And that would also save battery life.
Battery life. And again, my question was, okay, how much?
Yeah.
And when I'm reading an ebook, I'm just sitting here staring at the same page.
The processor doesn't
I'm a
have to
slow
do very
reader,
much. Yeah.
so sometimes I'm staring at it for a long time. There's nothing for it to do. I mean, it's not playing a game, it's not jumping around, it's just sitting there.
Right.
So I thought,
Grandpa fell asleep at the ebook again.
So I run mine at 26 megahertz. Down from 416.
Oh, that's a big difference.
And I get months of battery life.
So he did some testing. This is his setup here.
On the screen here, you can see my little lab bench that I set up.
Took apart. This is a TX that you took apart.
Actually, that's my prior, my T5.
This is the old one.
And of course, I've got the ever-present Starbucks.
This
coffee.
is what powers the research at Gibson Research Corporation.
And then an oscilloscope is there because I was concerned that the Palm might not be really pulling DC, it could be pulling AC, and I wanted to make sure that the meter that I've got that is showing me here, we can see I'm pulling 165 milliamps at the moment from the Palm. I wanted to know the characteristic of the current being drawn. Just because that's...
Why would it... I thought batteries were DC. Why would it...
Batteries are, but the device isn't.
Oh, so it might be transforming it?
It could be pulling surges of current.
Oh, interesting.
And the meter might not have been reading the average correctly.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that it was. So what I've done is I've put together a web page, and we've got a link in the show notes, which is all about the way PDAs consume power, the size of the various Palm batteries, and then I wanted to characterize exactly... what consumed how much power.
So were your hypotheses correct?
Yes. We're looking at now a chart that shows from the Palm's maximum brightness to minimum brightness.
It's very linear, isn't it?
Well, it's surprisingly linear, and that was one of the things I wanted to find out. I wanted to see...
Maybe there's a sweet spot,
Yes.
a perfect illumination.
Did you read this page already?
No, but that's what I would want to know.
That's exactly
right.
There
isn't, though, apparently.
There might be a place where you could get more brightness for the power,
Right.
But as we can see, it turns out it's extremely linear, and so, for me, what you were showing just now was minimum brightness.
That's not. It's actually very legible.
Inside, it's fine. Outdoors,
it's fine.
In fact, in bright light, you sort of use it as a reflective display.
You don't even need any
You
power.
don't need any at all. And then the second parameter that I show in the next chart is clock rate versus power consumption, and we see the same sort of thing. We see a relatively linear ramp.
What's that notch there? Why?
Well, it's interesting. The tool I was using before was one I really dreaded recommending. It's something, unfortunately, it's called PXA Clocker. It's got bells and whistles like you can't even believe. You can turn off, as you can see in the center in the center image here, you can turn off all kinds of different aspects of the device.
Is this unique to the Intel X-Scale processor that's in there? I mean, this is a very sophisticated processor. Or not?
No, in fact, the X-Scale is scalable. That's what the X-Scale stands for. It's a scalable speed. The good news is that there is my very favorite previous tool is called, and where is it? There it is. It's called Lightspeed. Just yesterday, they updated it. I wrote to them 2 days ago and said, guys, I'm going to be on Tech TV. They wouldn't work on the T5 or the TX, only on the older Palms. Now Lightspeed, which is the underclocking tool by far I recommend. It allows you to just trivially say, I want my...
You said a clock speed.
Exactly. Well, by application. So e-reader automatically slows down.
See, that's better because then I don't slow down the machine all the time.
Exactly. When you're
what's that notch now? You were telling me what that notch was in the chart.
Oh, right. Unfortunately, and I didn't know that I was going to be able to say that Lightspeed was a tool people could use.
So this program didn't do that?
It killed the Palm Pilot. At the lowest speed and those in the middle, it hung, and I had to unsolder the battery the first time I used it. Oh, I mean, it won't reset, it won't power off.
So you don't have to use it. Use Lightspeed.
Lightspeed, and I'm gonna edit the page now.
You've got enough data here to know that that's a fairly also linear curve.
It's a very linear curve. Again, there's like no optimal point. So putting it all together, we can see that if the normal brightness and clock speed were used, based on the size of the battery, I would project
and how much amperage it was drawing.
And how much, exactly. And it's like, we can see here, 245 mils, which is a lot of current. I mean, it's 0.245 amps of power,
that's quite a
which
bit.
is substantial. That's why they get a little warm on the bottom. I mean, there's this work being done, and that delivers about 5.31 hours of total use.
Still a lot longer than a laptop.
Yes, and that's if it's just on statically.
And working.
Yes. Now, if you switch both to minimum, like if I brought the clock speed
minimum
down,
brightness, minimum clock speed.
Minimum clock speed, minimum brightness, which is the way I can use the e-book reader.
That's how this is working. Yeah.
Then, as we can see, the current drops down to 105 mils, which is which extends the calculated battery life to at least 12 hours, 12.38.
Interesting earlier, you said, but I want to try this because this is calculated, not in real world. So you're going to try to drain this thing?
Yes, what I'm going to have to do now...
You have to read for a long time?
What happened was, during the 6 hours that I talked about that I was reading this, the battery only went down 25%.
Oh, interesting.
Well, now, I don't know that it's linear. So, it might be going to 50 and then suddenly drop off.
Right.
So I'm going to extend these tests, and it'll be on this page that we link to in the show notes. I'm going to do an extensive battery rundown test where I monitor the voltage automatically every 10 minutes. And actually see how long it takes.
So how do you turn down the backlight illumination? Is that just built into the Palm?
It's all built,
is that contrast slider?
I think every PDA has the ability to slide the brightness down.
And you use Lightspeed, which is a free or a paid program?
It's paid, but it's
Program.
inexpensive.
It's like $5 or $10.
I think it might be $19.95.
Okay, and that's available for download, Palm Gear, and places like that.
And it potentially allows you to use your Palm as a media player, like long-term.
How about movies?
Reading.
Can you slow it down and run movies?
Yes, I can go to less than half speed, and still get 100% of the frame rate.
Because I see you have Batman Begins on there, and I haven't seen that yet. I thought maybe you and I could sit very